Since the dawn of the Planet of the X games, the act of skateboarding has been synonymous with being rad. The ubiquitous coolness of skateboarding is undeniable. It's right up there with wearing a denim jacket and basic human decency. And since this is a show about video games, you've probably pieced together that this attitude also applies to skateboarding games. But have you ever wondered why skateboarding is so appealing? From my perspective, the answer can be found by understanding verisimilitude. Typically referring to film or other forms of media, verisimilitude is defined as the likeness to truth, or the idea that something appears to be true in context. Skateboarding isn't cool because certain objective actions can somehow produce reliable subjective results, because they can't. But rather, it's what these actions represent under the conditions of our shared reality. To explicate this belief a bit better, examining the past, present, and future of skateboarding video games and their impact is a pretty effective way to do it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. And because this is all in, we're gonna say this is all in service of promoting the upcoming remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Now, don't worry, I am gonna actually talk about it, because I think it's a genuinely important part of this discussion, but you guys know what I'm doing by this point, right? It's not subtle. Alright, so skateboarding video games have been around for about as long as there have been video games, but what I would consider to be the birth of the modern skate game was around the time we hit the extreme sports boom of the late 1990s. The genre started producing games like Street Skater, which featured detailed level designs akin to racing games that allowed players to make the most of their environments as they progressed toward a predetermined goal, all set to a sunny ska punk soundtrack. It was at this point, after seeing the untapped potential in the genre, Activision tasked their soon-to-be acquired studio Neversoft to develop what would become Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for a 1999 release. Pro Skater might have maintained the unrealistic physics of its predecessors, but it also invoked an all-new sense of realism in its aesthetics by using real tricks, real skateboarders, and level designs modeled after desirable skate spots. While this shift away from aesthetic formalism into what I would consider realism light was groundbreaking at the time, what truly set Pro Skater apart from its genre ancestors was the sandbox level design, which induced the same sense of creative freedom that comes with actual skateboarding, particularly street skating. Street skating is just as much an art form as it is a physics-based puzzle, recontextualizing limited environments and maximizing the potential of skaters to express complex ideas with style and nuance. And this refined interpretation is exactly why 2007's Skate sparked a pristine new era for skateboarding media just a few years later. After the last half-decade of Tony Hawk games, happened, EA's new series would push the genre even further away from its formalist roots and plunge headfirst into full-blown realism. Skate and its sequels utilized a dynamic physics engine and gave players more jurisdiction than ever by cleverly changing what was being controlled in the first place. Instead of giving their avatars specific commands via button combos, players could now control the flip of the board itself with analog stick patterns that mimicked the movements required to execute their real-life counterparts. With critical acclaim, high sales, and the advent of the 2010s to boot, it seemed like big-budget skate games would only keep getting better from here, and continue to build on the ideas of the last decade and push the genre into new and interesting territory. And then they just stopped making them, which brings us to the present. Since Skate 3 launched in 2010, we have literally seen one skateboarding game from a major publisher, which I just don't have the time or energy to discuss. But seemingly overnight, the AAA space just decided to abandon an entire genre right when it felt like it was on the cusp of something truly great. Thankfully, all is not lost, because skateboarding games are actually alive and well, thanks to passionate fans and the hard work of independent game developers. While Kickstarter projects like Session and the upcoming Skater XL evoke realism to effectively pick up where EA Skate left off, there's also my personal favorite indie skate game, Ollie 2, Welcome to OLLIWOOD, which not only strikes the perfect balance between realism and formalism, but does so in precisely the right ways. However, you remember when I just said that only one AAA skateboarding game has been released since 2010? Well, I was lying, because there is one more, and it is quite possibly my all-time favorite skate game. And that game is called Trials Rising. Now, I know what you may be thinking. Hey, that's not skateboards, that's dirt bikes. It's a whole other thing. And yeah, I know, but that doesn't change the fact that apart from the absence of skateboards, Trials Rising evokes the philosophy of skateboard games and skate culture better than almost any other traditional skate game. Not only does it have ultra-precise physics-based gameplay, abundant character customization, and a heavy emphasis on style, but it has some of the most buck-wild level design of any video game I have ever played. It doesn't need to have skateboards to elicit the verisimilitude of the appeal of skateboarding, and that's kind of the point. Trials Rising is a near-perfect convergence of realism and formalism with gameplay that's easy to learn but difficult to master, which shows that the future of skateboarding games can be pretty much whatever we want. And it's that very same creative, bombastic, and unrestrained attitude that makes skateboarding so cool in the first place. So what does this somewhat abstract optimism mean for the future of the genre? Is the remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 going to blow us all away and once again redefine what a skate game can be? I mean, probably not, but I think it's an important first step in getting us there. Innovation requires looking back on what worked in the past and using modern sensibilities to seamlessly integrate those ideas with new ones. And the mere existence of a team working to remake those genre-defining games at all is remarkable, especially when it's still being backed by one of the biggest publishers in the industry. Plus, I mean, this move was big enough to get EA to commit to development on Skate 4, so there's no denying that this release is far more than just a $40 remaster. But whether you're most excited about the Tony Hawk remakes or whatever Skate 4 ends up being, it's pretty undeniable that, despite everything else going on right now, it's a pretty great time to be a skateboard fan. You can pre-order the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 at your local GameStop store or at GameStop.com. And if you want to hear me dissect more galaxy brain hot takes about media, you can head to youtube.com/Nugatori videos. But until next time, Skater die.